So today I want to talk about something that absolutely nobody is covering. I swear, I'm surprised that my recommended isn't flooded up and down my feed with news on this topic, and that is games costing $100. And it is so dumb, man. More specifically, GTA 6 and such a price hike causing other AAA developers to raise their prices from 50 to 60, 60 to 70, so on and so on. To be honest, man, I feel like this is old news. Like, what is this, 5 years now? 3 years at least? We've been seeing games costing $100. Hell, we've been seeing games costing over $100. Just look at every game releasing with an Ultimate Edition. Just look at games doing that 3 days early access stuff. This has been happening for so long I can't remember. Have we forgot about microtransactions? I mean, there's people out here spending more money on microtransactions for a single game than they spend on those damn plastic boxes they use to play them on. At least, that's what we've all been hearing whenever we talk about modern gaming. I don't see why any of this is huge news, and honestly, me personally, I don't really care. I barely buy games at 60, let alone 70. If a game's bad, I'm not gonna pay $70. I'm not even gonna spend $10 on that game. There were so many huge releases last year, and you wanna know what I spent money on? I bought Stalker 2 for $60 a couple weeks after it released. That's it. That was the most money I dropped all at once on games last year. And believe me, there were a lot of games that I wanted to play in 2024. The biggest ones for me, and I haven't been able to play them yet, hopefully I catch them on sale, were Black Myth Wukong and Space Marine 2. Luckily, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was on Game Pass not too long ago because there was no way I was spending $50 on that game. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but money these days is really tight. I mean, just going to the grocery store is like a damn gauntlet. I was at the grocery store the other day and a carton of eggs, and I'm not talking organic. I'm not talking free range or any of that. I'm talking about the cheapest eggs you can buy. They were like $6.50. This was here in Ohio. That is some Looney Tunes bonker shit right there. Just a couple years ago, they were like $1.59. In the past few months, I went from a few bags of groceries costing me like $80 to over $100, and I am extremely frugal with my money. One thing I do when I go into the store is I grab the grocery cart, right? And you know those carry baskets that they keep by the entrance? I take one of those baskets and I put it in the grocery cart and I limit myself to whatever I can fit in that basket. And it still ends up being too damn expensive. But back on topic, $100 for GTA 6. I could really care less. And you know why? Because it's GTA 6. Even if Rockstar does charge that kind of money, that doesn't mean other publishers can sell their games for that price. They can't even sell games for $70. So if you think that's gonna happen, you're out of your damn mind. Even if GTA 6 costed $1,000, people still wouldn't buy your game for $100 because if your game's not good, they're already not buying it. Do you know how many damn games there are? If it's not something somebody isn't already interested in, they're just not gonna buy it. That whole controversy about some gamers hoping games raise in price is just outrage for the sake of outrage. If other AAA publishers used this as an excuse to quietly raise the prices of their games, they'd all be dead on arrival. We already see failure after failure with live service slop losing support and studios getting shut down, blah blah blah. There's just so much competition in the market that mediocrity is cooked. This isn't 20 years ago where a AAA game can get by with just being good enough. If you want to charge AAA prices, your game has to be incredible. It has to stand out. It has to be an unforgettable experience. We used to have games that could be good and still sell well. They were called AA games, and they didn't have to sell tens of millions of copies to be successful because they had smaller budgets. GTA 6, if it is $100, people will buy it because it's GTA 6. That doesn't mean I'm gonna buy it. Maybe 10 years ago I would have, but I'm just not the fan I once was. Listen, I know GTA 6 is huge for a lot of people, but I'm gonna be real. I can live without that shit. It's not like we don't have a million other games to play already. It's not like you can't wait for it to go on sale. And really, after the disaster that was the GTA trilogy and GTA 5, man, I'm gonna be honest, it's my least favorite game in the entire series. But that's me personally. I know that's gonna be a hot take. But come on, man. Most of the map was completely barren. They toned down the physics by a lot. I mean, in GTA 4, you could ghost your car and you'd be ragdolling down the street for like 12 seconds straight. And car chases and crashes and stuff they're just not as exciting than they were in previous games. If GTA 6 is that expensive, it better be damn worth it. Also, too, I didn't like that 3 protagonist thing. I thought Trevor was kind of dumb. He didn't need to be there. And Michael, he was alright. But if you play the game, you can clearly see that initially the game's narrative was going to be focused around Franklin. And if it was just him, it would have been a better game in my opinion. He was by far the best character in the game. And we didn't even get a story DLC like we got in GTA 4. The Lost and Damned, Ballad of Gay Tony, those DLCs were absolute bangers. I know it's because I only play single player games now, but man, it just sucks for me that all the focus after the game was released was around online mode and charging people ridiculous amounts of money for shark cards and shit. I'm sorry, man, but for those reasons, I'm just kinda checked out at this point. And I know I'm going to catch some flack in the comments section for that. I'm just not that excited for GTA 6, and the whole narrative with stuff like inflation and games should cost more money already, it's just dumb. That's just how inflation works. Of course they're gonna go up in price. If you're upset about $70 for a game, go buy a fucking Big Mac from McDonald's. But that doesn't mean we're gonna magically see games going for $80+. Maybe from the slot publishers, but guess what? They'll be in the unemployment line. Actually, they already are at 70. I don't even think most games were ever worth $60 to begin with, let alone 70 and beyond. And if you're the type of person that's buying every single AAA game at launch, like, I don't know how to say this, but you're just a fucking moron. And you don't know how to manage your money. The reason why this narrative is so dumb is because the average person isn't spending $60, $70 on games left and right, and these companies know that. We're only spending that type of money on a few games per year, and those games are the outliers because they're actually good. I mean, just look at the Steam charts. These companies follow the market. Do you know what market has continued to see growth? Yes, the PC Master Race. And what is Steam most famous for? That's right, Steam sales. People naturally stick with the same games for long periods of time and buy AAA games when they go on sale. The data is right there, just look at the top sellers. I'm constantly seeing Cyberpunk on the top sellers chart, and that game is always on sale for like $30. That game was a mess at launch, and the time for that game to sell at full price is long gone, no matter how good it is now. And Microsoft knows this, Sony knows this. Why do you think console exclusivity is starting to become a thing of the past? Xbox has been multi-platform for the past decade. They've been releasing their games on PC day one, and Sony's time frame for releasing on PC is becoming shorter and shorter. The fact is, not enough people are buying games on console, and they have to port their games to PC to remain sustainable. You can even see Nintendo fans complaining about the price of games and the quality not always being up to snuff for $60 a lot of the time. Nobody was rushing out to buy Princess Peach Showtime or that Princess Zelda game. I don't even remember what it's called. It's only a matter of time before Nintendo starts releasing games on PC as well. It won't happen anytime soon, but it will eventually happen because people can't afford to spend hundreds of dollars on a plastic box just to turn around and spend another $70 on a game. Just think about it. If you already own a PC, Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it's kind of like a $700 discount on those games because you don't have to go out and buy a PS5 Pro without a disc drive and no vertical stand for that ridiculous ass price just to get 60 FPS. It's why you see these subscription services like PlayStation Plus, Nintendo Switch Online, and Xbox Game Pass. People are not out here spending money like that, so why should anybody be afraid of GTA 6 releasing for $100? And really the worst outcome, and I actually think this would be a good outcome, at least for the AAA gaming industry, is this shit causing a straight up crash like we had with Atari back in the day. Which I don't think that would happen because gaming is way too big now. If anything, we wouldn't see a crash, we would just see a shift. Kind of like what we're seeing right now with people mass converting to PC, which forget about what you heard. It's actually the cheapest way to play games because once you get past that initial price, which is not $5,000, you don't have to worry about backwards compatibility. You don't have to worry about prices because of all of these sales. You don't have to worry about exclusivity. And it's just cheap as hell. Like, I bought a Steam Deck OLED, right? And yeah, that initial price was a little expensive because it basically cost the same price as a full-blown next-gen console that only has the power of a base PS4 and Xbox One. Yeah, that's pretty expensive, but after that, you practically don't have to spend money at all after that. There's emulation, indie games are cheap as hell, AAA games are constantly on sale. I mean, you have to actively look for games that are not on sale. Also, we're hearing word that Microsoft is planning to integrate Xbox's operating system with PC. So basically, it would be like how you launch the Steam Deck back and forth from desktop to gaming mode. You would just launch your PC into Xbox mode and your entire digital library along with Game Pass would be there just ready to go. It's just so hard to look at things like this and think that games are realistically going to go up in price, which my argument is more so that games are actually going down in price because I know you're probably paying at most full price for a few games a year. And you most likely get a lot of your games on sale. You know, it was like that comment that was making the rounds when Star Wars Outlaws released. You know the one I'm talking about. How, I'll just wait a few months when all the bugs are patched out and the game's like $20. That's just the market, man. And the customer controls the market. You could literally look at the top charts everywhere on every platform, every console, on the Steam charts, and see that these big companies are following the market. That's why I look at GTA 6 costing $100 and I think, good, let it happen. It's not like it didn't already take a lifetime to develop that game. What's another year or so to wait for it to go on PC and then have a sale? And if you're really hard up on money, man, when I double dipped on GTA 4, it had all the DLCs, by the way. For PC, man, that shit was like $5 for the entire package. So who cares? It's not a big deal. People are just trying to rage bait you into clicking on their videos and giving them ad revenue just because they see GTA 6 cost blah, blah, blah billions of dollars to develop. So they came up with this idea of pushing this propaganda just to rake in that ad revenue. Well, GTA 6 costs $100? Hell no. But I can see it costing like $80, and even then, I don't care because I don't even pay $70 for games. I barely pay $60 for games. And by the time I get to Space Marine 2 and Black Myth Wukong, they're probably going to be on sale for like $40, which then I might decide to pick them up at that price. I mean, it's still a little steep for me. I feel like $30 is a good price for a AAA game, unless it's games like Elden Ring, which is an exception. I actually bought that game for $60, and games like Stalker 2, which I don't give a fuck about the bugs. That was just a game that I planned on playing all year, so I was comfortable paying $60 for it. I don't know. But I do know one thing is that I wouldn't get too invested in these game journalists talking about black hole games and resetting the market and how this could hurt indie games and all that. Like, these people are fully entrenched in the gaming industry. They make a living playing games, talking about games, getting early review copies and all that garbage. They're not the average gamer. They can't really gauge how we play games or how we pay for games. They can't really look at the state of the gaming industry from a critical standpoint. Because I don't know about you, but when I see a new release and it's $70, I'm even more skeptical because I'm thinking $70, this might be slop right here. But then I see a game for $60 and if it looks good, I'm thinking the opposite. I'm like, okay, they're fairly pricing this game. Like, this could actually genuinely be good. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a contrarian. You'll have to let me know what you think. Do you see a game for $60? Fully featured, with minimal to no microtransactions and see more value in it? Or is it like those game journalists say where they're like, oh, it's a psychological trick where people see the $70 price tag and they perceive more value in it? Like, for me, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Everybody knows the higher the price, the more likely it is to be slop. And you have no idea. You have no clue, like, how many games I've picked up for like $5 to $15 that were just absolute bangers. Like Hollow Knight, that game was like $15 and it was a masterpiece. Games like Pseudo Regalia, that game was like $5.99. It was fantastic. Then you have games with demos and I'm like thinking to myself, that shows confidence when you can have a game with a demo. But when you release a trailer and it doesn't even have gameplay and you're putting that shit up for pre-order for $70 and beyond, like, come on, man. We're not that stupid, are we? I don't believe it. I don't subscribe to that shit. We can't be that stupid. And we're not, man. We're not that stupid. A lot of us have huge backlogs of games. And since we have so many options out there like Game Pass and stuff, when we see a game come out, even one that we're really excited for, we're sitting there looking at it through a critical lens, debating whether or not it's worth a buy. I mean, you might find it funny that out of all the releases last year, I chose to buy Stalker 2, considering how messy it was at launch with all the bugs. But the thing is, I actually played through the entire game on Game Pass before I even decided to buy it on PC. And I also played through a few other games too before I decided to cancel Game Pass, so I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. Same thing like I mentioned with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I'm a huge Ninja Gaiden fan and I just refuse to pay $50 for that game. I don't care how good of a remaster it is. Even if it was the best version of Ninja Gaiden 2, I still wouldn't have been able to pay $50 for it because, like, my budget is tight. Like, it's either Game Pass or nothing for me. And if it wasn't, I would have waited for a sale. That's just kind of how most of us are paying for AAA games, through subscription service. And I mostly just buy indie games or just play the ones I already have. And I feel like there's a lot of people just like me that it's just not realistic to be buying these games like that or upgrading hardware like that. I mean, I'm actually surprised that we're still not talking about the PS5 Pro. I mean, that's way bigger of a problem than GTA 6 being $100 or more realistically $80 or whatever. Because nobody wants to talk about the hundreds of dollars that we spend on these plastic boxes to play these games in the first place, when the whole selling point of the console was supposed to be a cheaper alternative to playing games than on PC, which I thought was the whole point. Which, if you don't believe me, look at the sales of the Nintendo Switch. That thing was like half the price of the other home consoles and it sold gangbusters. Which, yeah, part of it was for the exclusives, but man, most of it is just because it's cheap. And gaming is just expensive no matter how you cut it. It's a expensive ass hobby. I mean, shit, at $70, we're already seeing tons of games being sent out to die and studios getting shut down over it. If your game isn't an absolute masterpiece, and you're trying to charge that type of money, then good, you deserve to have that shit burned to the ground. I don't give a shit about these studios. I don't give a shit about any of these developers going through crunch. Hell, my job's hard. I still have to come to work every day and do my job. Don't get it twisted. I'm not here advocating for shitty working conditions, but at the end of the day, I'm out for myself. I'm thinking about my own wallet. I'm thinking about my own job, my own bills, my own groceries. And if your game isn't good, I ain't paying for that shit. If your game's too expensive, I'm not buying that shit. I'm just an average Joe. I don't care about politics. I don't care about graphics. I don't care about every single AAA release. I'm just trying to escape and enjoy my free time when I'm not at work. I buy games based on how good the gameplay is. And I know you do too. Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, bye.